coming. As you know, the reason for the House and Senate Republican press conference today is to roll out some of our campaign finance bills that we are supporting this year. And we go back to 2005 when the legislature passed the Clean Elections bill. And the purpose of that was to make sure that the citizens of the state of Connecticut had clean elections in the form of sunshine on elections, in the form of a level playing field, in the form of allowing democracy to work at its best by allowing as many people to run for office and giving as many people the opportunity as possible. And in return, we would have taxpayer-funded dollars paying for those elections, and they would get clean elections. Well, unfortunately, we didn't hold up our end of the bargain in this state because of the chain of events that have occurred since 2005. At this point, I will let my colleague, Senator Fasano, talk about that process.
Thank you and good morning. To my left is a time frame of what's been done to the Citizen Election Fund and program that we have out there. In 2005, it was passed bipartisanly, and that was pushed by Governor Rell as well as Democratic leadership. And that was to get a hold, as Representative Claridis had indicated, to make a deal that we will use taxpayers' money. In lieu of that, we will provide clean elections. Then there was the upcoming election for governor. And lo and behold, after the primary, when Tom Foley had won the primary, it came to be that they brought us in a special session and doubled the governor's race from $3 million to $6 million, vetoed by Governor Rell, and then it was overridden in order to allow that campaign to go forward. So that was the first part of the erosion. Then in March of 2012, Governor Malloy unsuccessfully put in a bill which would allow finance candidates to raise unlimited funds after they've gotten the program allowance, that they'd be able to raise unlimited funds from special interest groups. Now, that bill never really went anyplace, but that just shows the intent to erode the system. In 2013, with the governor's chair in hand, the Democrats opened the CEP program and allow a lot of special interest money to come in. They allowed unlimited organizational expenditures from State Central. They doubled the limits to the PACs and party committees, including the federal PACs. They allowed organizational expenditures to be used in negative campaigning. This was a death blow to the campaign, to the citizen election program. This was the death blow. Then on October 6th, we saw that the state Democrats had asked to get out to vote if a particular mailer, which was this mailer, whether this mailer was something that would violate the federal election get out to vote. And as you recall, there was a lawsuit commenced by the Republican State Party against the Democratic State Party indicating that this did violate get out the vote. They had asked, the Democratic Party had asked for the Federal Election Commission to rule on that, and the day that they were going to rule was the day that the matter appeared at court, and they withdrew the request for that ruling that very day. And we went forward with the hearing. And with that, that's the background of where we are, and I'll turn over to Representative Claridis to talk about the different matters.
Thank you. We're going to give you a few of our ideas. This is certainly not an exhaustive list, but a few of the ideas that we believe most strongly in regards to bills we put forward this session. One of them is about capping organizational expenditures by state parties. Now, most of you know organizational expenditures are made by legislative caucus, by state parties, by town committees, and they can be coordinated with the candidates, and they are not counted as campaign contributions. There's never been a cap on the governor's organizational expenditures. We are proposing to put a cap of $250,000 on a governor's race, $75,000 on constitutional offices, and as far as legislative races go, right now we are capped with our caucus PACs of giving a maximum of $10,000 to a Senate race, and a maximum of $3,500 to a House race. So we are proposing making that equal with our caucus packs. In addition to that, we are suggesting and proposing reducing the amount an individual can contribute to a state party. We increased that from $5,000 to $10 a few years back, and now we're proposing to bring it back to $5,000. And the reason for these two, plus any of the other bills we are putting forward, is because, as I mentioned earlier, we made a deal with the state of Connecticut in 2005. Whether you agreed with that bill or not, whether you voted for it or not, the deal was we would give you clean elections and we would allow you to see everything we're doing. And as Senator Fasano mentioned, looking at this board behind us, that's not the way we operate now. I'll turn it over to Senator Fasano now.
Laws are only as good as they can be enforced. And therefore, what we are asking to do is to allow our State Election Enforcement Commission to, one, hire their own counsel. If they are an independent watchdog, then they should have independent counsel that could advise them and take the appropriate measures. So we would also put in the bill that would allow a SEC to go forward with a preliminary injunction without the need to show irreparable harm if there's a violation that they believe occurs within 30 days before the election. As many of you may be aware, there were court proceedings, as I talked about, and the issue of irreparable harm is an issue. And what you don't want this to come down to is just a cost of doing business, because that's not what elections are about. So we'd like independent counsel and a right for preliminary injunction. We also would eliminate grants to unopposed candidates. There was even some SEC rulings that said if you're unopposed candidates, you cannot use those funds to help other candidates in such and such ways. So we would say, listen, if you're unopposed, there's no reason for taxpayers' money to be used in that election. So let's just get rid of it.
In 2014, we spent over $33 million. Over $33 million to fund elections. Now, I don't know how many of you in this room, at your kitchen table, with your family, or on a Saturday night out with your friends, said to one another, you know what I could go for? If I had one more TV ad, or one more mailer, then I would be able to decide. That would make my decision for me, but I haven't seen enough or gotten enough in the mail. None of us. I mean, it's a joke, but it's the truth. So what we're proposing is to reduce the CEP grants by 25% across the board, because we believe that the amount that we have to spend is too much. And although it is a cost savings, it's the point of how much do we need? How much is enough? I would like to introduce now our House ranking member of the GAE committee, and I know that the Senate ranking member is on his way. He's here. Oh, surprise, surprise. Senator McLaughlin and Representative Smith.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you all for being here today. It was 2013 when some pretty dramatic changes were made to the campaign finance laws in Connecticut. We debated and argued that the changes were inappropriate, that the changes that were made in 2013 were creating tremendous loopholes in the campaign finance rules here in Connecticut. But most importantly, it somewhat nearly neutered the citizen election program. Why? Well, because the citizen election program was providing a whole bunch of money for a candidate to run a campaign, and the back door was opened wide to bring more money into the campaigns. I'm not talking about Citizen United. I'm talking about regular donations that could be shifted into taxpayer-funded campaigns. We knew this was going to happen. So we really should be repealing that law from 2013. Bring it back to where it was as a bare minimum. Thank you. Representative Smith.
Thank you, Senator. I'll tell you, if you think about all the mailers you received over the summer and into the fall, the ones that probably irked you the most, irked our fellow citizens the most, are the negative campaign flyers. How many times have you heard, that's enough, we don't really need to see that, we don't like to hear that, and it turns people off. And what it really does, ladies and gentlemen, is undermine the public confidence in our system. And that's what we have done with the legislation in 2013. We have undermined the confidence in our system. So with that, you either have apathy or who knows what's next. So I'm happy to stand here today to be in support of the proposals by this caucus. Clean government, clean elections makes a happy populace. So let's go forward and do that. And I hope to, the initial bill that was passed was very much a bipartisan effort, and I suspect and would hope that this one would be as well. Thank you.
We'll take any questions if anybody has any questions.